When we last left our hero being the truck, not me, when we last left our hero, we had come to discover that the electric fan would not fit in the space left between the radiator and the water pump. Yeah, that's never ever gonna happen. Now, that was a large bummer. No other way to put it, large bummer. Where I left off was this. I was planning to take the old fan shroud, the black plastic fan shroud that was previously on the motor with the flex fan, 16-inch flex fan and a factory style fan shroud. That fit poorly together. The fan shroud sat way too far into the engine bay and it swallowed up the entirety of the fan. We're looking at, where do we got? Here. So we're off by, call it that much in terms of where the back of the blades should be. So the fan was just turbulating wind inside of the fan shroud and not actually pulling any through the radiator. It was overheating, it was bad. The plan was to take that shroud and just sort of shallow it out, whether that was from melting it or cutting it or making some combination of shortening procedure to keep a good size opening at an appropriate depth, that the opening of the fan shroud would actually split the depth of the fan blades. That was the goal, that was the intention. I haven't tried it yet still, but I just feel like it might look kind of like grungy and hodgepodge and not in a way that fits the rest of the grungy hodgepodge look of this truck. So I started ideating around using the aluminum flat fan shroud that came with the electric fan. It has a flat face, which is not great. It bolts directly to the bolt holes of the radiator, which is great. It has a too small diameter opening to fit the flex fan, which is not great, but it's workable, right? And I guess that's the important part, is that it's workable. I did a bunch of mathing and measuring and fitting and refitting with that thinner electric fan shroud, and it looks goofy. It looks kind of gross and silly, but it would fit and it would work. Now, I'm gonna try melting down and modifying the black plastic shroud and maintain some of that coning. If that doesn't work, or if it looks absolutely terrible, I've got the electric one pretty much ready to go. And I just need to open it up and something will happen. One of these things is gonna work today because I cannot afford to spend any more time trying to make a fan shroud solution or a fan solution work on this truck. It is boring the hell out of me. And I'm just tired of working on the same old thing. I've got other stuff that I want to do. I actually just got another truck in the driveway now. It is not mine. I cannot afford this. And it is a very slick Land Rover Discovery. I want to say it's like a 1990. So that needs some work and I would like to get that done prior to leaving for duct tape drags. That is in about 2 weeks. That is probably not going to happen given the state of this truck. So day goals for today is I want to get this fan shroud solution finalized. I just want something in, whichever one it is, I don't care, but I just want it to work. So it's gonna be that. I'm gonna get some sensors in for the gauge set. I'm gonna finish up a little bit of wiring so that I can start it, put it in park, and make sure it doesn't overheat. If that all works, I'm gonna put some seats back in it. I'm gonna finish up little bits of wiring stuff, and it will effectively, shy of maybe a test drive to make sure it doesn't overheat, be ready for duct tape. And then I'll see you there. You can buy t-shirts. That's right, you can buy t-shirts. Behold the contraption. This is a contraption that came from mine own mind to properly, mind you, fabricate this plastic fan shroud to the depth and diameter that I actually need it to be. So what this is a small trash can with a roughly correct size rim within about 1/4 inch on each end. Correct size rim for the diameter that I need the fan blade to be at. Now that trash can is sunk into a board with the shroud mounted over it onto the board. So it is sandwiched in between board and shroud. That whole combination sits inside of another larger trash can with a bunch of furniture pads on the bottom to get it to an ample height. Now, to fine tune that height are shreds of scrap wood underneath the handles of the inner trash can. Now that pretty much nails the height that I'm looking for. And it turns out that what I thought was going to be the clutch, the key to this whole thing, this lazy Susan to live under outer trash can and just give it a nice rotation as I'm heating it from a fixed location. I'm not gonna need that. As it turns out, if I chop this down to effectively this rim, which is sort of my preferred height, it's basically my preferred height. If I just chop it all the way down to here, I'm not gonna have to melt any of this area or this area, and this is already chopped, so that's fine. It's really just these upper corners that are gonna need any sort of meltage. So yeah, this might work out a lot better than I thought. I'm gonna get to chopping, and then we'll get to melting, and then we'll get to installing, and then we'll get to moving on from this stupid cooling project. No, of course. Be back in 20 minutes. I'm back. Oh yeah. Oh, that's great. That'll work. I'm gonna call that somewhere between roughed in and fully flushed out. We'll fit it to find out. But also before I unbolt the electric fan shroud option, let's take a look at why I hate it. Except if I run it, then it's really not that bad. All right, so on the very, very off and very slim chance that this plastic shroud does not suit my needs, I'm gonna save myself about an hour and a half now of wrestling this aluminum shroud back into place so that I can mark out the diameter that I'm going to need for the fan blade. Now, what I don't love about this shroud that I was trying to explain earlier was like just, it's flat. It's just a box with a hole. And I mean, now that I look at it, the fan will cover most of the real estate of the core of this radiator. But still, there's going to be some really hot dead spots in the corner, and just as Freiberger put it, I called him about this and picked his brain on cooling things. It's really hard for air to make a right turn. It's much easier if it just sort of smooths in towards the fan. So I prefer to use the black shroud. If I end up using this aluminum one, it's probably going to be just fine. But I don't know, I like to make things as better as possible. So in case that is not better like at all, I'm just going to mark out the aluminum with this handy little template I made. We're going to bolt this to the front of the water pump, and we're going to stick a Sharpie through this hole, and we're just going to spin it around and mark our circumference and get that out of there. Put a black one in. Okay. Hopefully call this thing cool. We'll see. And then this whole fan situation has to go on first, which is extra annoying. Not a huge fan of that process. Now the nuisance part of this is lining up the pulley hole, the shim hole, to the threaded hub of the water pump, getting that lined up, and then also, it's right here, I forgot, then also getting this fan spacer and the fan also lined up with that same hole, getting the fan past the water pump pulley without rotating it and misaligning everything you just aligned. I've done this like 100 times in the last day. I'm doing this with the radiator in is an extra difficult surprise. Oh, come on. I'm gonna get this on, come back, pretend it didn't take me 40 minutes. Oh, it was easy. I didn't even spend 40 minutes looking for a 1/2-inch wrench that moments later, after I tightened it down with a line wrench, I opened another drawer and found it there. That didn't happen at all. It was very easy to install, not frustrating one bit. So I've got a belt on or a belt loosely in place, just in case this all stays together. To the exact same setup I had before, just with a slightly melted shroud. Now, in the in-between of melting the shroud, I've done nearly a full rewire to install a relay. I know I didn't have to do a rewire for the relay, but I did a full rewire so I could put an electric fan. That isn't going to happen. I have completely disassembled the interior, refreshed the dash, put in a new gauge set, cleaned and rust protected the floors, and a handful of other things, just so I could put the same shroud back in. Super fun, super cool. Love being efficient. So as it turns out, I didn't shave enough off of here. Now this might be a good thing, this might be a bad thing. Good thing, potentially good thing. It actually shrouds the fan. Like, the chances of me catching a finger on here are greatly reduced than if it would be back 1/2 inch. I take that back. That if it would be back 1.25 inches where it should be in order to properly cool. Now I understand the whole goal of me doing this for the past, what seems like 12 months, is to get the truck to cool. So yeah, that is priority one. Fingers are very secondary at this point. I'm gonna do this. Since I'd really have to take the entire thing apart to get this thing out again anyway, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to fire this thing up, I'm going to let it run, I'm going to drive it around, I'm going to see if I can get it to overheat with this level of fan shroud. It is far improved over what I had in here before. If this is sufficient and will actually cool, what's the point in taking it all apart again just to melt it if I don't have to? Now, if I have to, I got to take it apart again, the only difference is that I have to drain water again. Like, if I pull it all apart now, it's the same amount of work minus draining water. Everything else I have to do again anyway. So I'm going to leave this as is. I'm going to cinch everything up. I'm going to call this optimistic. I'm going to call this hopefully good. And we're going to start it. And we're going to do some other things. We're going to start it. But I am calling this 0.5 complete. And then we'll find out if it works or not. And that'll tell me if it's actually complete. And you get the drill. You get to the drill. It looks terrible. So at least there's that. Oh, it's not that bad, I guess. Definitely not that good. Has anybody seen my 7/8 open or box? I don't care. I spent probably the last hour, 45 minutes to an hour looking for it, and it's what I need to get this temperature sender out of here. Now, Crescent is just sort of rounding it, and I don't want to risk that, although I'm going to risk it one more time. Again, I don't have a socket that'll fit behind there, and I don't want to put it on the other side. There it is. There it is. In that hour that I was looking for things, mosquitoes came. So that sucks. Wasn't all success, but you gotta try for the dogs, you know? All right, so the present order of business in the eventual hope of getting this thing running and started and finding out if this fan shroud is going to cool the car is to replace the temperature sensors so that I can read temperature on the gauges and also plug up the holes in the cooling system so I can fill it again and start it and see if it overheats. So I just pulled the temp sender, the factory temp sender from the side of the head, which, as far as I've ever known, and correct me if anybody has a different opinion here, but as far as I've ever known, the head is a more accurate and responsive place to get a temperature reading, more so than, say, the intake manifold. Now, Classic Instruments in their instructions actually say to put the temperature sensor in the intake manifold because you're going to get a better reading. I don't know why, that seems contradictory to me, but they know gauge stuff and I believe them. Now, all that said, I'm not going to put it in the intake manifold for two reasons. One, I don't have a bushing for the intake manifold. I also don't have one for the head, so I'm not going to put it there either today. But I still have the sensor from the old Autometer gauge, the one that was reading, I believe accurately, was reading hot. So I want to leave that there and leave that gauge inside the cab to compare, to see if it's something in that location of the head, or if it's something in the gauge, or if it's something, whatever. I want the science of having two gauges running at the same time. So I'm going to leave that sensor right where it is in the manifold. I'm going to get a bushing for this and put it in the head probably tomorrow. That does leave me with my last sensor, which is this oil pressure sensor. That's going to go where they always go, in the back of the intake manifold here. And I just happen to have the correct space riser for this doohickey, for this this oil pressure sensor. If you put it down low here, it just bottoms out on the manifold and you get no engagement on those threads. If I use a full-length brass riser, it hits the distributor, and I could put it on a 45 or 90 and just stick it out the back there, you know, rise it up here and then just jam it out the back or stick it at a 45. That just looks dumb. That looks bad. So I ordered one of these from Summit, which is a 1/8" MPT to 1/8" MPT, and it's a little stubby guy, and that should just do me just fine. Little guy. Black. Good. Now you also don't want to put any thread sealer or goop on these because these actually receive a ground through the block, and if you goop them too well, they will interfere with that ground. Ugh, annoying. I thought it was going to fit perfectly, but it didn't. You know, sometimes the math just doesn't math, and that's okay. As long as the application applies, that's all that matters. Yeah, better. All right, I like that alignment. I think that all works. Okay, with all that said, I'm going to call it for tonight because it is mosquito o'clock, and tomorrow morning we can go get a bushing to put in this temp sensor. I'm going to fill it all back up. I'm going to change the thermostat also. I'm gonna get this thing started and see if it's, you hear those? Those are mosquitoes getting crackled. But we're gonna start it up. We're gonna see if it actually overheats or not. And we're gonna use 2 gauges to find out. 2 gauges. It's enough gauges. Be good science though. All right, we are back, and it is a new day, and that is a very good thing because we have a couple of very important things to discuss. One, I got a bushing for my temp sensor for the head. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in. I'm gonna go ahead and get the wires crimped and run to get to all of my sensors, my oil and my water and my electric choke and all that kind of stuff, get that out of the way. I'm going to change oil, I'm going to change plugs, I'm going to just give this thing a solid refresh. Now, those are all fairly boring and tedious things, so while I do them, it's gonna give you the opportunity to head on over to SaturdayGarage.shop. Now, why would you do that? I don't know, just cause, I guess. Just because I finally, after 5-ish months of doing this, finally got around to making what I think is a pretty cool shirt. I like it. If you do, head on over to SaturdayGarage.shop, buy one or two. There's this one. There's another one that is an homage to Animal House, to my boy Bluto. If you know the famed college sweatshirt. I've got that in a sweatshirt and a t-shirt variety for Garage. It's better. Garage is better than college. Well, I don't know, college was pretty fun. Any Hoosiers, yes, please do go support, I appreciate it. What else do I have? So I have a black shirt, I have college shirt and sweatshirt, I have a white tee, I have a ladies tank top, I have a hat, and yeah, I don't know, I got some cool stuff, go check it out. In the meantime though, sensors, wires, oil, plugs, start, run, no overheat, be mechanically ready to drive to duct tape drags so that I can put seats and stuff back in it. And speaking of duct tape drags, if you're going to be there, if you're going to be in attendance, I'm going to have a pile of white logo t-shirts, much like this one, except white. I'm going to bring a bunch of those with me, so bring some cash. You can buy one from me there. I would appreciate that. Also, I will be selling them out of the back of the panel truck, like a proper hobo. If the shoe fits, right? Still can't find my 7/8 box, so line wrench does for now. Sort of. Does it do? Yeah, it does. Check me out though. I just realized that a O2 sensor wrench is 7/8. Score. And even better than that, it fits. It's awkward, but it fits. It was on sale. More bugs in there than I'd like. That's concentrate. Wish I got some distilled somewhere. Okay, discuss in the comments. Distilled water, tap water, or deionized water to mix with your coolant. I'm usually a distilled guy. I don't think that's the right move, but I'm out of it anyway. I have no idea where deionized water comes from. So, tap water. It's fine, right? Fine. Says the guy with cooling problems. Okay, other than having spent a lot of time in this motor, they're really honestly not that bad. We'll get into reading those closer in a little bit, but right now we are running out of light because these days are getting shorter and shorter, and I want to get this started. So I think it's really just a battery box and a battery, and I'm gonna put a gauge cluster in so I can see things and hook up an old water temp gauge so I can do a comparison, and we should find out if this shroud is worth half a darn or not. Now, without putting the cart before the horse, hooray me, somebody, one of you fine, presumably gentlemen in the comments, called out that my old battery box was for a 58 or 59 Chevy truck, whereas my truck is a 57 Chevy truck, and that battery tray may have been the cause of my heater port problems. Now, I did a very rough comparison of the old battery tray, the 58, 59, to this here new 57, and it does seem that this sits, the shelf sits about an inch higher. So I think that should open up these portholes for me and allow me to run that heater core that I have been wanting to run. And also, look who's here being a nuisance, digging through boxes and trying to eat things. Hello, dog. Come get me. Hello. Ooh, what was that? What was that? Is that a snoot? Is that a snoot? That's Duncan. You guys know Duncan. He's still a good friend. Hello. Hello. Don't go down there. There's coolant. Yes, good stretch. Yes, good stretch. Yes, it's a snoot cam. All right, that's enough, Duncan. Back to battery boxes. Okay. See, that's pretty good. Right there. There's the ports for the heater. It actually clears. It comes right out. So, dude who told me that, thank you. That was easy. I like easy. Yep. Ooh, now I must say that I do not love the new relationship of battery post to hood. That is problematic. I don't know if it's a problem, but it seems like a problem. I mean, like, that's post. How well can you see that? That's post. That presumably is bottom of hood, or, you know, bottom of the structure of this support here. I don't know. I'm gonna get a closer look at that. I don't love it. Probably not closing the hood with this thing running, but I've got power, I've got ground. I want to hook up a cluster first and be right back. Put a cluster in and a gauge, and then we're gonna fire this thing up. Hooray. Okay, so with the quickness, because we can, we're going to take our new Classic Instruments gauge set, plug in all of our wires, and that's now hooked up. So, like, that's pretty cool. Gonna tuck this away. Everybody's happy. Mostly me. Just gonna pop one in for safety. Oh, don't want to do that. And we're gonna pop two in for security. And then while we're at it, because it's only three, we're gonna pop three in for style. Look at that. God, that is good. Okay, now for my redundancy system. So I'm gonna run this up through the tunnel. And I will find that, plug it into the sensor that's still in the manifold. It's mosquito o'clock. It's happening. This gauge needs power and ground. So Here we go, that works. Gonna get a power. We're gonna get a ground. Because I can. Okay, I'm gonna plug in that gauge, and then honestly, I should have power everywhere that I need it. And I hope nothing starts smoking. Let me know if it does. Thanks. So now really, if I turn this key, these gauges should come into life, and so should this gauge. Let us see. None of the above. None of the above. Oh, there we go. Okay. Good. Oh, I don't have a throttle cable. Stand by. There's a little bit of gas in those balls. Starts easy. Love that. I also don't have any life on any gauges other than oil, which is pegging at like 120 pounds. Hey, you can see me there too. That's cool. All right, give me a second. I want to look at a couple things. Okay, so as I key on and off, this is off, on, oil goes up way high. It's not even running, so something feels backwards there. And I don't trust this gauge yet because there's no way that that water is 180. Why is that so high? Calibration mode, tack, speedo, shift indicator. All right, this is not what I was hoping for to end out this episode, but we're not ended yet. This feels to me like it's a bad ground issue. Now there is a ground wired into that harness, which I trust. It's a ground that comes from American Auto Wire, and that system is well grounded. Is that system well grounded? I mean, presumably. Maybe it's not, actually. Hold on. More jumpers. More jumpers. What else we got here? Okay. Ground. Hooray. To what is a reliable-ish. Oh, there we go. That's a good ground. Got it. Okay. We are alive with gauges. Okay, this is perfect. I've got 0 temperature. I've got 50 pounds of pressure, which feels about right. 14-ish volts. It's perfect. I've got a tack, cruising at about, I don't know, 1200 RPM. That feels right. This gauge set feels good enough for our purposes right now. So I'm going to give this a few minutes, let it warm up, let it register on this gauge because I know that this does something. See where we're at on this one, stick a foot on the brake, leave it in drive, and just see if I can get it to, I don't know, be unhappy. I would love for it to not be unhappy, but we'll see. Oh, I'm also going to check the radiator to make sure it's overflowing. It's got good wind. Huh. I'm also getting a ton of wind over here, which feels weird. I think that's just the shape of the shroud opening, which is wild and unpredictable at best. Oh, okay. So look at that. We're up to 140 already. I mean, they're kind of on par with one another. Almost 160. There's not a ton of indication on this one 195 is my, well, 140 to 195 is 55. So that's 27. Let's call that 167. We'll call that 170 the middle mark on this temp gauge here. Call that 170. Honestly, they're pretty close. They're pretty well in line. But when will it stop? Will it ever stop? 180, thermostat just opened. Dropping down to 160 here, that's dropping down. There we go, that's catching up. That's the delay, that's the difference between intake manifold and the head. Okay, so we're down to 160. Happy, happy. All right, so that may have been rising so quickly because the radiator cap was off and the system wasn't pressurized. There was still plenty of coolant in the radiator, didn't need to top it off, wasn't overflowing. So with the thermostat now open, my assumption is that the block is full, as is the radiator. So I capped that off, and now with pressure in the system, let's see what temperatures do. Should really have its own camera by now. Okay, the rapid ascent has cooled off. This should get up to 180 and just chill there. That's the hope. And then we're gonna stick it in drive and test it. Call that 180 on the classic instruments. All right, we're creeping. We are creeping. And it's still creeping. Wait, did that creep the other way? That just crept down. I was confused. All right. We're going in gear. Probably should have put a wheel chock, but here we are. It is climbing, ever so slightly. This might be the really long, drawn-out part of the video. Thanks for sticking around. Oh, that is balancing. That is down. I am cautiously optimistic that this might be working. I've said that so many times trying to fix the same stupid problem, though, so... there's a 2x4 back there. It got knocked. Climbing. Classic Instruments is staying steady right about that 180-ish. And honestly, I do kind of trust that better. It's just less fluctuations in the head. Coming back up to 180. Coming back up to 180. Coming back down from 180. Coming back down. All right. I'm really hesitant to call this fixed. Okay, if this happens one more time, I'm gonna say goodbye. Like, this one is just steady. This one's steady as a rock right now. I'm calling that middle hash mark 167. So we're a little bit past halfway between 67 and 95, which puts us at like, I don't know, 180 something, right? I'll call that 190 right there. But this is still a 180. I'm going to be running 2 gauges for a while, I think. I'm going to run 2 gauges the whole way to duct tape drags. If all goes well, I'll kill this one on the way back. It's dead steady at 178. Okay, Classic Instruments is now showing 195. Is that going to keep climbing? Is the head gauge going to keep climbing? The head gauge does keep climbing. That's showing, I don't know, I'm going to call that 200 right now. Which begs the question. A thermostat opens at 180, right? Which means you expect your coolant temps to be at 180. But those coolant temps are going to be indicative of whatever the thermostat is allowing it to be. So like the head is always going to be running hotter than what the thermostat opens at. So like, I guess that's why you don't put it in the head, is that it gives you an inaccurate reading from what you're expecting to see. It's giving you an accurate coolant reading, but it's not giving you an accurate thermostatal reading. Dead steady, 178. Still climbing. We're calling that 195 to 280. That's almost a 100-degree spread. That's an 85-degree spread. Split that in half. We're looking at 42, 195 and 42, 237. We're looking at 240 head temp right now, and 176 now, and dropping. 176 and dropping on the water temp, on the intake manifold temp. Climbing still in the head thermostat. And dropping here. We're down below 170 now. I'm gonna go see what things look like outside. Oh, wait. Okay, head thermostat, or head temperature sensor, is now dropping. Oh, severely dropping because I'm out of drive. Okay, that load put 40 degrees into the head coolant temp. And this one now, in park, is climbing to 180. I have no idea what's going on here. Like, what? Dropping, rising. Intake dropping, head dropping. Oh, head's now dropping. Head's back down to 195. Intake is down to 165. I don't know what to trust. What do I trust? Tell me what to trust. I need to go check some outside vitals before I run this too much longer. I don't know what to believe. I know this. It's running cooler than it was before. So like shroud, improvement. Fixed, I don't know, but improved for sure. And just in case I skipped so much of that because it ran for so long, here's what I was seeing. The head runs at a hotter temperature than the intake manifold sensor does. That makes sense. It's more saturated. It's heavier metal around it, blah, 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 blah. So it's slower to react. It retains heat more. This ended up staying much cooler while in drive. The intake stayed cooler while in drive, which makes sense because that is so much closer to your thermostat. It's what you're seeing on your gauge. Typically, you expect to be representative of your thermostat opening point, right? You got a 180-degree thermostat. You think your car should run about 180 degrees. You see that in the intake manifold. You don't really see that. At least I didn't see that in drive on the sensor that's in the head. That kept climbing in drive, obviously not going anywhere, but under that little bit of load, that kept climbing while the intake manifold stayed steady. I don't know that I can explain that. I'm sure that I could, I just can't do it right now. Put it back in park, the head drops way down again, the intake manifold starts climbing, and yeah, stuff, just stuff. Chime in, please. I actually really do appreciate you guys' input. You have good stuff sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. Stuff's going on here. I think the shroud is working to some degree. I need to button up some brake lights and some throttle position sensors and some other little like periphery wiring stuff, and then I can go test drive this thing. Whether or not you guys are going to see that, I don't know. I will say this. In 2 weekends, you're going to see this truck again for sure on its way out to duct tape drags. I intend to post on Saturday with live footage cut into the episode. So maybe not live, but you know, day of footage. It's going to be cool. So make sure to check that one out. In the meantime, if I'm not working on this, I'm either going to be working on minivan because it's ugly and it needs a lot of help, or on, hold on, I'll just show you really quick. It's a very cool truck. Okay, so in either 1 week or 3 weeks, maybe 4 or 5, I don't really know, but this is going to be on your screens. This is a 1990 Land Rover Discovery. It is something like that. I believe it's a 90. It is a super rad truck. It belongs to the brother of our old Hot Rod Garage producer, David, who you may have seen on screen a few times. But it's just a rad little Discovery. It just came back from Arkansas, where Dennis Taylor of Hot Rods by Dennis Taylor fame over on YouTube, and also long before YouTube also, but he just jammed an LS3 into this thing, and in the 50 feet that I've driven it, it is super rad. I love how short it is. I love the color. I love the sound. It is just a rad truck, and now I really, really want one. If you want to see more on the build of it, Hot Rods by Dennis Taylor over on YouTube. And if you do go check out some episodes over there, please do drop comments and remind Dennis that this will be the second car that we share on our resumes. Between this and the 55 Plymouth Savoy we did on Hot Rod Garage, both of us put in tremendous man hours and tremendous effort on both of these cars. I believe that I polished door panels on the Savoy, and they were pretty good. They were pretty good. So that's enough tomfoolery for one day. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for watching. Please go work on your own junk, and I will see you next week. Oh, also, please go check out saturdaygarage.shop and score you some merch. I would appreciate that. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Happy Saturday. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Please go work on your own junk, and I will see you next week. Yeah, that's all of it. And hopefully I don't see you in this. This is good. We're set. Duct tape drags, here we come.